The Chicago Bears have just landed the first overall pick for a second year in a row, thanks to the Carolina Panthers and the awful job new owner David Tepper has done over there. I mean, he's gone on and fired 2 different head coaches in the middle of the season in back-to-back years. It is rare to fire your head coach in the middle of the season, let alone twice in a row. But the question is, what will Chicago do with the first overall pick? Because just a year ago today, they were in the exact same situation. However, instead of selecting a young QB like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, they decided to trade down with the Panthers, fall to the 9th pick, and receive a huge haul in return, along with their 2024 second round pick, 2025 second round pick, and the first overall pick in 2025. Plus a little receiver by the name of DJ Moore, who absolutely carried this Bears offense when he was being used correctly by Luke Getsy, who's absolutely getting fired this season. No chance he stays on this Bears team. But anyway, DJ Moore would go on to still get 96 receptions on the season, more than 1,300 yards, and 8 touchdowns, which was very hard to do in a not-so-pass-heavy offense. I mean, the only passes Luke Getsy ever called all season were seemingly screen passes. And as great as they looked in the preseason, teams had all year to pick up on that, and they did so. Absolutely embarrassing play calling by Luke Getsy. He is one of the biggest reasons the Bears fell apart throughout the entire season. Hell, Matt Eberflus is also a big part of that. He does not know how to manage games. Hopefully one or both of those guys are gone by the time the draft rolls around in April. But back to the question of the video. What will the Bears do? Plan A, they decide to stick it out with Justin Fields, Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, all the guys in the front office. If they believe Justin Fields is their guy, this is probably where the Bears will head with their decision. And that also means they're going to trade down from the first overall pick like they did a year ago. This time, however, they probably won't trade as far back, considering they still have the 9th overall pick, which was their own. And that also means they'll probably be trading with a QB-needy team like the Washington Commanders or the New England Patriots. And let me tell you, these guys are going to give up a lot, even to move up 1 or 2 spaces, because the guy at the top of the draft is a generational talent in Caleb Williams, who I will speak more on later in this video. But for right now, I want to talk about what the Bears will do if they trade down. They trade down 1 or 2 picks, they'll probably receive a massive haul, and with the 2nd or 3rd overall pick, they're most likely going to select superstar wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, who has played amazing for the Buckeyes over the past 2 seasons. And he really took the football world by storm about a year ago when CJ Stroud was his quarterback, and he put up numbers like 1,200 receiving yards, 77 receptions, and 14 touchdowns. He really put his name on the map, especially in that moment where he decided to wear an Apple Watch mid-game with Louis Vuitton cleats. Absolutely ran ESPN, Instagram, and Twitter all day that day. Plus, in 2023, with a quarterback like Kyle McCord on that team, he still managed to put up almost the exact same stat line. This time on 67 receptions, he still got 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. Unfortunately, he was never able to win one of the big games with Ohio State. He always ended up losing to Michigan, and he never really got to see the college football playoffs. However, he might find some success in Chicago. Who knows? Maybe the Bears organization will be able to turn their fortune around in the near future, especially with this decision. Now, if they do decide to trade back, then they still have the 9th overall pick, and a few mock drafts have had a couple of really talented edge rushers heading to Chicago. My favorites being, Dallas Turner out of Alabama, who said he's out of there, so you already know he's going to be available. He had a fantastic season with the Crimson Tide, where he put up numbers like 53 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles on the season. A fantastic year by the edge rusher, Dallas Turner. And then you've got another talented guy in Jared Verse out of Florida State, a Florida State team who was robbed by the college football playoffs, but let's be real, they were going to get blown out anyway. Now, as for Jared Verse, he had 41 tackles for loss with 9 sacks, 3 pass deflections, and 1 forced fumble. So his numbers are up there with Dallas Turner. Those are 2 of my favorites. Of course, there were a few other mock drafts where the Bears selected differently, but I just want to talk about those. Those are who I want to go to Chicago if they were to select anybody with that 9th overall pick. Now, choosing plan A does put the Chicago Bears organization in a bit of a time crunch because Justin Fields will not be on his rookie contract forever. Eventually, it will run out and they are going to have to pay him, especially if they trade away 2 first overall picks while he's on the team. Yeah, they're going to need to pay him massive amounts of money. And the question is, will the Bears win a Super Bowl before then? Because it is a lot harder to win one when your QB is no longer on his rookie deal. Now, currently the Bears do have a good number of cap space left, but it will probably get bigger if they decide to move on from longtime defensive back Eddie Jackson, who has had injuries in the past, especially with his feet. He doesn't have the same step to him that he had coming out of Alabama, so he's probably gone, along with a few of the offensive linemen who have been terrible this season, like Lucas Patrick. Talk about an awful center, by the way. But enough about that. Let's get to option B, where instead of trading away the first overall pick, the Chicago Bears would use it to select quarterback of the future, Caleb Williams out of USC. Yes, the same Trojan who won a Heisman just a year ago. Now, this guy is probably the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, and that was almost a decade ago. Caleb Williams put up some phenomenal stats in a year where his team didn't look so good. Hell, the Trojans had one of the worst defenses in college football. Talked about it in a previous video right up here. But as for Caleb Williams, he ended up throwing 3,600 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a completion percentage of 68.6, and a rating of 170. So he is a great quarterback who just wasn't fortunate enough to end up with a good defense in the end. But in Chicago, things will obviously look different. He will be a cheaper option than Justin Fields long-term wise. And instead of drafting an edge rusher with the 9th overall pick, you're looking at the Bears selecting either Malik Nabers, wide receiver out of LSU. He had a phenomenal year with Jaden Daniels as his quarterback. Or Rome Odunze out of Washington. Just watched him play in the college football playoffs where Washington kind of choked. They had a lot of opportunities, but he had Michael Penix under center throughout the whole season. Both of those receivers had fantastic college football seasons. So who knows? They could translate to the NFL. Are they as surefire prospects as a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr.? Obviously not, but they are up there right with him. So if they do draft Caleb Williams, they're probably going to use that 9th pick on a receiver. And those are your 2 options. Now, obviously, does Caleb Williams have a higher ceiling? Of course he does. Compared to Justin Fields, Caleb Williams might have the brighter future. But as we've seen throughout the years, several QBs have come and gone that were absolute busts. And as for Justin Fields, if you take a survey through all the Bears fans, they want him to stay. Besides a loud minority on Twitter, a majority of Bears fans are in favor of keeping Justin Fields and feel like he hasn't been given a good opportunity to succeed for most of his career in Chicago. Hell, I want Justin Fields to thug it out and, become something in Chicago. I don't want the cycle to continue where it's new OC, new head coach, new quarterback. But anyway, I've said everything I've wanted to about the situation, and I thought I'd cover it because I'm a Chicago Bears fan. And, the mainstream media is talking about it. So what better opportunity than to make a video about my Chicago Bears? Alright, catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.